Good morning, neighbors. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying your wonderful vacation. I know some of you are working and you're working hard from sun up to sundown. Don't get sick. Put a mask on your face. That'll help everybody. I'm just kidding. That'll help you. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well and you're turning in your work. I believe I got everybody's work in. Some of you a little late, but that's all right. That's all right. We will not hold it against you. I'll just hold it against your grade. Anyway, all right, let's get serious. I have my Slim Fast right here, near and dear to me. You say, Pastor, are you actually losing weight? Not really. I don't think I've lost any weight. Actually, maybe 1 or 2 pounds, but not enough to say, hey, look at me, I'm buff. Ta-da! Yep, that's my goal right there. That is my goal. Anyway, thank you for turning in your work. Now, for those of you who are in biology class, soon, maybe by Tuesday, let's see, no, today is Tuesday. By Wednesday, I will put up a small video just giving you instructions on the next few chapters of your biology class. And I will put a link at the bottom of that video so that you can go ahead and download the pages and do the work. We're probably only going to do about 2 or 3 more chapters, and we shall be done with the book. So that'll be a blessing. One less thing to do. All right, great. I hope you're all not sleeping too much. Stop staying up till 2 in the morning. That's not good for your brain. And anyway, redeem the time because the days are evil. All right, that's enough of that. Okay, so today we're going to be doing part number 4 of quadratic equations. And remember, you have work to do, or work that is due. Actually, work that is due. When is it due? Oh, look. It is due today by 8 p.m. Those 5 programs, or those problems, not programs, problems right there, are due today by 5 p.m. Today is Tuesday, January the 7th. So they are due today. And the work that we will look at today, the homework for today, will be due on Thursday. All right? So keep that in mind. And don't tell me you're busy working. Get used to it. That's life. All right, great. Let's look at today how to solve 3-term quadratic equations not set in standard form. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of these steps and apply them to our solving of quadratic equations not set in standard form. All right, so we're going to look at 6 simple steps. We're not going to go through all of them because really steps 3 and following are basically a repetition of what we've been doing in the past few classes. All right, so number 1, how to solve 3-term quadratic equations not set in standard form. Well, the first thing we have to do is remember the standard form of a quadratic equation. Okay, so in other words, we are looking at the way, or the form that a quadratic equation is supposed to be written. Okay, the order it's supposed to be written in. So here we have it, a squared. The a represents a number, okay, a digit or coefficient. A squared plus b a x squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So once again, what we are saying in a quadratic equation is that everything on this side here, when the value of x is found, right, and you go through the entire problem doing the mathematical steps, everything on this side will equal everything on this side right here, which is 0. Okay, so if you did it right, you should get 0 on both sides. Okay, so we're going to be using this equation here. So the first thing I have to remember is to look at the standard form, okay? The order it's supposed to be written, or how it's supposed to be written. So we're basically going down with an exponential power. Okay, so obviously if we had another one over here, it would be ax to the third power, but we're not doing that. But the simple or the point is that we're going down in value of exponential powers. Okay, so we have 2 here and understood 1 here, and c is by itself because it's a coefficient. Okay, great. Now we're going to use the problem that we have here. 7x plus 5 equals negative 6x squared. The standard form tells you where each term should go. Okay, there you go, right there. Now it says in step number 2, move all terms to the left of the equal sign. As you move the terms, their sign value must be changed. So in this problem that we have over here, we notice that the x to the first power is in its rightful place. The number 5, which is the lone coefficient, it's in its rightful place, but this one over here is not where it's supposed to be. Okay, so according to our standard form, it is supposed to come first in our equation. Okay, so I am going to move this bad boy. I am going to move it over here. Okay, and so step number 2 tells me that as I move the terms, their sign value must be changed. So I have here a negative 6x squared. As I move it to the other side, it will become a 6x squared positive. Okay, and so I have now set my quadratic equation that was not in standard form. I have set it into the form it should be. Okay, all right, great. Now let's continue. Step number 3 tells me, and there now from here on out, steps 3, 4, 5, and 6. And yes, I know you already copied this down, but do it again. It'll be fine. It's good for you. I don't want you to learn or forget how to write or read, for that matter. All right, so for step number 3 and 4, 5 and 6, these are the normal steps that we have been doing in other quadratic equations. So step number 3 tells me I need to factor out the first term, which is right here. Okay, so there are several ways that I can get 6. 6 times 1 and 3 times 2. Okay, so I go through my process and I find out, hey, I'm going to do 3x and 2x. I break those down. I break down the coefficient. I break down the variable, x here, x here. And then I need to, step number 4, look for 2 numbers whose product equals the third term, which would be 5, and whose sum equals the middle term, which will be 7x. Okay? And so I look for my numbers. There's only one way that you can get 5 when you multiply numbers, and that's 5 times 1, or 1 times 5. Those are the only 2 digits. Now, whole numbers. Now we're going to, once I've decided, hey, I got my my first term factored out. Now I'm factoring out the other 2 terms, and I come up with 5 and negative 1. And when I do, my step number 5 tells me that I check by multiplying factors found in step number 4. Okay, so I multiply those factors, go through the process of multiplying, and yes, I have my answer right there. Okay, so these factors that I have here are the ones that I need. And then step number 6, which we have done already several times, tells me to set the factors to equal 0 and solve for x. And so I go through the process, and you already know this, so I'm not going to take the time to go through that. But I come up with x is equal to negative 5 over 3, and x is equal to 1/2, 1 metad, 1/2. Okay, great. So that's it. The only thing you have to worry about is obviously remembering your steps, your normal steps that we have here. But when it's out of order, when the quadratic equation is out of order, the one thing you have to remember is to bring the everything that's on the right side of the equation over to the left. And as you do that, make sure you change the sign. Okay, great. All right, let's look at examples. Sample number 2. Example number 2. Okay, so we're going to use this one here. Okay, now notice, obviously it is not in standard form. And I told you that standard form follows the exponential power order. Okay, so we're going to go from greatest of the exponential power to the least, right? Okay, good. So notice that in this one, we have an x to the third power. Then we have x to the x, let's say to the first power, and then an x to the second power. There is no coefficient here, c, that is by itself, okay? But that doesn't matter. We can still put this in order. And we're going to do it by putting it in exponential order. So x to the third is the greatest. The next one is 18x squared, which is on this side here, and I am going to bring it and put it where it belongs, in the middle. Okay, x to the third comes first, x to the second, x to the first. Okay, so keep that in mind. And so it's a negative, so once I switch it over here to this side, it becomes a positive. Good. Now, let's continue. Now, we have to follow in this one the rules of factoring out quadratic equations with x to the third power as the first term. Okay, and we already went through that in our last class. So you have to keep an eye on what it is that you are working with. Okay, so here I need to factor out an x or an exponent from the first term. And then our rules that you should already have memorized. Yeah, that's right. I know you have it memorized. This x to the third will become an x to the second. And then my rules tell me that I bring down the rest of the equation just as it is here and here. Okay? So once I do that, I am told in my rules that I need to factor out everything that's within the parentheses. Okay, the x on the outside of the parentheses, we're going to leave it alone. He is practicing social distancing. Okay, he does not want to get corona. That's funny. No, it's not. Let's continue. Okay, so I did this one easy because I didn't want to confuse all you people out there. So we just, I picked 9. Okay, 9 and 9. So x plus 9 and x plus 9 will give me 9 times 9 will give me 81. Okay, or it will give me 81. And then 9 plus 9 will give me 9 or 18. 9 plus 9 will give me 18x squared. Now, excuse me if you hear my crazy dogs barking in the background. If you don't, that's great. But I'm gonna go tape their mouths later. That's not nice. That's dog abuse. I'm not gonna feed them for 3 days. That'll be better. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so now that I have factored out my equation within the parentheses, I am going to check this to make sure that I am right. I go through the process in step number 5, and I get x squared plus 18x plus 81. Well, you say, well, that's not the answer that we have up here. Or wait a minute, up here. You are right. Then in those rules that we looked at in our previous class, we had a 6th step, which is that I needed to take my x that is outside the parentheses and I am going to multiply everything within the parentheses by that x. I'm going to distribute that x, okay? So let's go ahead and do that here. So once I multiply x by this, x by that, and x by that, I should get, or I will get, x to the third power plus 18x squared plus 81x. And there I have now completed and have come back to my original equation. Okay. Well, obviously, I am not done. In step number 6, I need to factor or set each factor 1, 2, and 3, set them to 0. And my answers, when I go through that, solving for x, x is equal to 9, x is equal to -9, x is equal to -9. Okay, great. So that is another example, okay? So quadratic equations, three-term quadratic equations, and quadratic equations whose first term is to the power, to the x to the third power, all those can be in, not set in standard form, and so you just have to put them in their order. So just remember, again, they go by exponential powers. X to the third first, x to the second, x to the first, if the first term is x to the third power. If not, then we go back to this one, okay? So we would have x to the second, x to the first, and the lone coefficient. Good. You just have to keep an eye on what you're given. All right, step number 3. Step numero 3. Now, this is another example of this and how this can be set. We're not going to go through this whole problem, but just an example of it, okay? Now, notice, obviously, we start off here. 7x plus 30 equals 2x squared. It is not set in standard form. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move everything, the term that's on the right, move it over to the left. And obviously, this is a positive. So when I switch it over to this side, it's going to be a negative 2x plus 7x plus 30. And I will put equals 0 there. Now, you never want the first term to be negative. Never, ever. You never start off with bad news. You always start off with good news. Like where somebody says, hey, do you want the good news or the bad news, right? Yeah, always give me the good news. All right, so like that I can run away so I don't have to hear the bad news. But anyway, so when that happens, when you have a positive, whether it's 2x to the third power or if this would have been x to the third power, it doesn't matter. If the first term winds up being negative, when you change it to the other side, to the left side, you must put the whole expression in parentheses, put a -1 out here, and multiply each term by a -1. And what that does is that it will obviously change the sign of each one. If you were to leave this like this, you would not have a way to solve it, okay? You will not be able to solve it correctly. You may come up with some crazy answer, but it will be wrong. You have to multiply by a -1 each term within the parentheses. So -1 times -2x, positive 2x. -1 times positive 7x, negative 7x. -1 times a positive 30, negative 30. And then you can go now through the process of factoring out this bad boy right here, and you should get your right answer. Okay? Great. All right, so quick examples on how to solve three-term quadratic equations not set in standard form. All right, Budimus, that is lovely. I love it. All right, so let me see. All right, so ta-da! Look at that. Oh, you knew it was coming. Come on, don't roll your eyes at me. Don't throw the pen. Don't say, but Pastor, I already have so much work to do. Doesn't matter. Welcome to life, and it's beautiful. All right, so here's your homework. You have until Thursday, my friends. Thursday to get it done by 8 p.m., please. After 8 p.m., I'm going to charge you extra. And it's going to cost you a grade. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, so please look at each one. Look at what you are working with, right? Look at what you are working with. Make sure, look at this. Oh, that's a positive. When it goes over there, it's going to be a negative. That's a positive. When it goes over there, it's going to be a negative. So you may need to multiply by a -1, right? To get the right answer on that. Okay? So you should have, let's see, for this one here, you should have 3 answers because we're working with a x to the 3rd power. And that should be the only one, I believe. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So make sure you pay attention. These are very easy. Just follow the rules and follow the examples that were given to you. Okay, great. So this will be due on Thursday by 8 o'clock. Make sure you get it in, please. It would be awesome for your grade. All right, guys. Hope you have a good day, and don't stay up too late. Don't eat too much. You don't want to get chubby. Even though chubby people, we have the most fun. All right. Thank you for participating in our class today. You know you love me. We'll see you later. Bye.